slideshow, just basically some things that I've just pulled off my phone. We're not terribly technically proficient, so I had to go do with what I could get off of it. But anyhow, this first slide that's already up there is or a bunch of bowls that I made for an event called Empty Bowls in Carrollton, Georgia, and we donate anywhere from about 600 to 700 bowls a year to this event, and you pay for an entry and you get a free bowl, and all the money goes to support a soup kitchen there in Carroll County. And so this first slide is just a selection of a few bowls that I made. It looked like they're a maple leaf. And a lot of my bowls, the material I use, I try to get all the material from within this house, about 200 feet of my house. And that's the natural material that I use to make a lot of these bowls. This is a very good looking picture of our dining room table. This actually isn't what it looks like now. Now the bowls are stacked up maybe 20 or so deep across the whole table, just in preparation for this one event. But we donate bowls to any worthy charity where all the money goes to support meeting somebody's basic needs. So and these are the pictures of the guitars that were featured on the poster. And I would really like to thank Emma in particular for just an outstanding poster. I was just so tickled to see the images on the poster that she picked out of these guitars. And they're both really meaningful guitars to me. I don't know how many I've done all together. I also do wood burning, so I would have some wood burn guitars and some painted guitars. And I just delivered a guitar that I had about almost 50 hours of labor in to a young man named Destin Perry in Carrollton, Georgia. And I wish I could have gotten a picture up of it, but I just couldn't pull it off my phone. I was just really happy with it. It was all snake themed. Just a beautiful guitar. Now, it was a pretty cool guitar to start with. But.
I have a question about the guitars.
Okay.
So, what are the names of the ones that you're showing us? Do you have a name of the piece?
The one on the far left is My America, which is a song by a friend of mine named Paris Luna, who Sue also knows.
Yeah.
Her real name is Heather Russell. Her band name is Paris Luna, and she's just an extremely patriotic person. And I actually had already made the guitar in the center, and that was my first guitar. And the second guitar I made was the one on the far left. And I made it when my son left for his second tour with the Marines to Iraq. And he wasn't a Marine, he was a Greenside Navy, a corpsman, he was with an infantry unit. So he was a devil dog, which is a very extremely rare breed of Navy corpsman. Anyhow, the next guitar over started out as sort of being a tribute to a song by Maddie Pryor called Rising for the Moon. And the moon motif just didn't work out right. So I added the sun, and now I just call it I think the title that's on it is Celestial Terrestrial something.
Yep.
And then the middle guitar is Graham on Fire, which was, as I said, is the first guitar that I made, first art guitar that I made with pottery. All these adornments are pottery. And we're huge Graham Parsons fans. And there's several things on the guitar, like the nude women, the pills, the poppy flowers are all are all elements that come from a suit that was made for Graham by Nudie Cone. And I can't pronounce his original name, but he was like a Romanian immigrant. Man, he made, if you remember Porter Wagner and all those people that wore these bedazzled, spangly leather suits, Nudie Cone made almost all of those suits. And so the Graham on Fire, when Graham died, he died of an overdose, 26 years old, just shy of 27. His best friend, the road mangler, what's his name? Phil Kaufman, stole his body and took it out into the desert at Joshua Tree and burned him up.
What?
Wow.
So all these elements are sort of there in the guitar. There's the winged heart with Graham's cross emblem from his nudie suit on it. And then the next guitar over to the right is I've always liked Matisse. And so I made a Matisse guitar.
Okay.
Some of the elements there's a lot of the elements come from the paper border surrounding his pool. In Italy or France, I can't remember, somewhere close to the border in France. And there's an Icarus in there, which he was like quite famous for his Icarus paintings. So that's pretty much all those guitars.
Okay, thank you.
So this is sort of the construction of the guitars, how I made them. First I start with a template, and some of the emblems are just cookie cutters, like the bat and the shark and the pig. Others are freehand, like the sun and the moon and the stars are all freehand. And what I do is take clay and cut it and bend it around the perimeter of my template and then color it, and it dries. And the same thing with the other side. I've constructed all these elements. These are all wet clay, like right after I shaped them. And they sit like this and they dry. And then they're fired in the kiln to about 1960 degrees. And that makes them stable enough to put glaze on top of. These are the same elements with that have been painted with glaze, and they're laid out just on the top of the guitar in the spot where they will be once they're finished. And so that's the guitar with all the elements. They're all glazed. They're ready to go back into the kiln a second time with a gloss glaze on top. And they come out looking like this. And of course, I have to paint the guitar. So I think there's about 6 different colors that were airbrushed into the surface of the guitar. And there's just some more, you can tell the glosses on them from the clear glaze. And then that's the finished guitar. Of course, it's dressed up a little bit. Like I repaired some of the things that were wrong with it. And then the My America guitar, which was a song by Paris Luna. I basically did the same type of thing. I made a template, inscribed all the text to the songs and sayings. That was sort of my favorite patriotic sayings, into these wet pieces of clay on the right-hand side. So that's the image on the right is just a leather hard piece of clay that's been cut into those segments. And they're just ready for me to take a needle and draw all those words into. And so I did that, and I drew all the words in it and fired all that in the kiln, and then painted the red on the stripes. And there it is laid out complete. And what the image on the left is the clay after it's been fired to about 1970 or whatever degrees. And then I brushed clear glaze on top of that and fired again to about 2200 degrees. And it comes out like the image on the right.
Is there a fear of it breaking, or do you have you had pieces break?
Really, this type of thing in particular is just like, I'm just terrified that when I'm doing a piece like this, that I'm going to lose a piece somewhere, because it's almost impossible to replicate a piece like this. I mean, it wouldn't fit. So I would probably, if I lost a piece, I would have to probably replace several pieces to get it all back together. And yeah, the whole thing about pottery is that it's really very unpredictable. Pieces do just get destroyed. We've had pieces that I was really proud of that we had taken out of the kiln and had on display, and they just explode like in a day or two. So there's just some more details with the fringe around the edge, flag fringe. And there's sort of a collage of pictures on the inside the guitar of our family, since it's sort of a tribute to my son as well. And there's a couple of other things like this. I've sort of been a protester too in my life, and so I stuck in this image of this cap up in the front, in the top. We support our agricultural strike. I took part in this agricultural strike back in the 70s. There was a tractorcade, and we all the farmers around the state of Georgia took a tractorcade to Atlanta and virtually took over the city of Atlanta with tractors for farm parity.
Wow.
And there's the 2 guitars, the My America guitar and the Grandma Fire guitar, completed. And here we just have some the types of bowls I make for empty bowls. These are some of the more decorative bowls. These are actually leaves that I took. These leaves are from a Confederate rose bush, or what I guess you call it, a bush. And they have like lizards and frogs and things like that. And the one in the bottom left, it got away from me. I really didn't want to donate this particular bowl. It's a bowl. It's dedicated to the Lizard King, Jim Morrison. So it's sort of like a tribute bowl. I have a lot of tribute items that I've made in tribute to different rock and roll stars.
I've got one of those out on my screened-in porch with the lizard in it.
And I've got other things I've made, like here I've made this cup. This coffee cup is a tribute to the Louvin brothers, Charlie Louvin in particular, who I met. I had an album called Satan is Real. So this is a Satan is Real rock and roll related mug. I've got another Graham Parsons related mug. The King of Broken Hearts, who I sort of got to know just a little bit over the years. Jim Lauderdale is known as the King of Broken Hearts. It's a tribute mug for him. And of course, we've got Mobile's own entry into the music world. Abe Partridge. This is a Planet Alabama mug for Abe, which I have to get to him in a few weeks, but soon. I've got some things that are sort of Mobile related. I think one of the posters showed some of the pie birds, the Joe Cane pie birds. And this is the pipe that was featured, the Joe Cane pipe.
I'm surprised someone hasn't bought that from you yet.
Well, I've actually had a lot of offers, but I haven't gotten the chance to use it at Mardi Gras, and I intend to use it at least once before I sell it. I'm not a smoker, but I know I've just got to burn some kind of tobacco or something in it just once. Yeah, just another Joe Cane figurine. And this is more like, I didn't know until like that there were people who were dedicated to certain Joe Cane characters. I guess this is more like the current Joe Cane. But anyhow, these are just some more images of the image on the left is a platter. Actually, it's wet. It's actually flat. You can see how I use the leaves. I take the leaves and press and roll them out into the clay, and then cut out the leaves and attach them to these slabs, and then add all the lizards or the snakes or whatever, and then I shape the bowl after I put it all together. And the image on the right is probably one of the most popular things that I've done in the last year. People just really love these little crab bowls. And I probably made 100 or so crab bowls in the last year. And the glazes are just real pretty on them too. And that's just some more details. These are some more of the types of bowls I make for empty bowls. Like I say, most of the elements come from the natural environment. Um, I'm sort of a closet environmentalist, and I think people really appreciate having something from the environment. That I mean, these bowls won't ever disappear, and that's just some more. And these bowls are a tribute to one of my best friends that died about 7 years ago. A fellow named Ray Olivier, who Sue's actually met. He was just a really great guy. And when we moved from Milledgeville, he died a short time after that. And I went back, and this ivy grew on the big brick posts that were out in front of his house, the entry to his house. So I just grabbed a whole bunch of this ivy and made this set of pottery, which I'm going to send to his son in the next couple of weeks. I've just sort of been holding on to it, and it's time to let it all go.
Very nice.
And these are just some more images. These are in the stage that are sort of halfway point in the development of a piece. These have already been fired in the kiln. What I do is take a certain type of clay material or colorant called mason stain, and I roll out the slab and then attach or arrange all the elements, the leaves in it, and then I cast all this mason stain on top of it and roll that into the clay and then peel off the leaves, and this is what is left behind. And then I fire it, and this is after the first firing, or bisque firing as it's called. And then they would be fired again with clear glaze just to make them safe to eat off of, dishwasher safe, whatever. And this is just wasting a lot of glaze. And just pour big dollops of glaze, different colors, onto a slab of clay.
Mm-hmm.
See in the middle that it's already partitioned to make two different things. And I just use I guess they're called an Afro pick.
Mm-hmm.
The tool I use to move the clay around and just blend it together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make a square bowl. And the square bowls that I make are like this. I try to sort of oriental looking, I think. Just very plain. They're really heavy. I mean, just perfect for some gelato or something. And of course, I do some bowls for people that I like for certain events. The bowl on the left was made for Abe Partridge's gallery talk at the University of South Alabama, and I've made him maybe 30 or so of these things on the right, Planet Alabamas, just to hand out to people.
I was wondering if he sold them at his concerts or something.
I don't know. I've never seen him sell. He doesn't sell any of the stuff I've made for him.
Mm-hmm. Abe is sweet. So.
Huh?
Abe is very sweet.
I made him a Planet Alabama clock based on the painting.
Cool.
So, and these are some more Joe Canes. And these two, like, I met these two musicians here. Matter of fact, Paulo was with us one time when they played. They're one of my favorite bands of all time is Black Oak, Arkansas. And the fellow on the left was in this band in the late 70s and early 80s. His name is Corky Hughes.
Mhm.
He's a local musician, and he's just a magnificent musician. And the Joe Kane on the right is Grayson Cap.
Mhm.
It's supposed to look like Grayson Cap.
Okay.
And yeah, they're partners and everything. I had to make a Grayson Cap after I made a
Mhm.
Corky Hughes Joe
Yeah.
Kane.
Yeah.
And then there's some the small Joe Kanes are pie birds.
Okay.
People are familiar what pie birds are. When you make your pie, a crusted pie, you put a pie bird in the middle of it, and that lets it's like a vent, so it lets steam and juice vent out through the pie bird instead of out through the crust of your pie.
Mhm.
I've also made, okay, I've also been making these clocks. I don't know if y'all seen the clocks. These have been super, super popular. They really bring a lot of money for where I've donated them. But have this
Oh,
clocks is one that's sort of dedicated to fishing.
cool.
And here's one that's can't really see
Ah, okay.
the leaves that are impressed into it
Mm-hmm.
just from the yard. Mulberry tree. There's a tree of life
Cool.
clock. Here's a Graham Parsons related clock for a doctor friend of mine in Carrollton
Mm-hmm.
with the words from I like the Christian life, which is one of Graham's songs. My friend is actually Jewish, but he loves that song.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is Lorraine's favorite clock.
Pretty.
Now I've got like a combination of glazes for Mardi Gras. I've sort of got this Mardi Gras related colored clock. I've probably got 30 clocks made up.
That's neat.
And I've really had to reinvent everything I do since COVID came along. A lot of these things take a tremendous amount of like work after I've made them up from clay. They just take a lot of sanding and things, and all the clay is made mainly of silica. The clay that you use is a lot of it is silica, and so it's sort of dangerous. You can get siliconosis, which is a lung disease, and so I've had to reinvent everything I've done just to avoid exposure to dust, because I couldn't get masks for several months. And so I've come up with this new combination of clays. It's mainly porcelain. Matter of fact, it's all porcelain. These striped, I'm making all these striped things with different colors of porcelain. I've sort of reinvented the coffee cup a little bit. Instead of having a thumb rest or whatever, I have these little flanges on the side to rest your thumb on. And this is actually supposed to go to this one. This one was actually supposed to go to something, and this is what I was talking about. I made this for somebody, and he hadn't sent me money yet for it, which is good. But I was about to pack it up, and I heard this little chink noise, like chink, and I'd already had a cup of coffee out of this thing, and it was a week later after I fired it. And I was about to pack it up, and I heard this little chink noise, and so I put water in it, and the water's just running out of it.
Oh, wow.
Just got this crack. It just cracked somehow. So I've got to reglaze the inside of it, hopefully seal up whatever that crack is. But really, I think the pottery will really humble you. It's just so many things will go wrong. You'll have something that you're just incredibly proud of, and it'll just self-destruct at some point. And I made other things that are elements from the natural environment. It's like this. I make a lot of these platters, and this is a mulberry leaves. And they're really popular. And y'all have seen the platter full of the vegetables.
Yes.
This is like 35 hours worth of work.
Wow.
And all these things, the artichoke and the eggplant, everything but the potatoes. Everything is hollow. So it's just not a big lump of clay. And of course, here's I didn't know that Sue was going to be here with us.
You spelled it correctly.
But I just had to.
Well, Paul.
I made this heart for Sue. She's always been like one of our best friends. I mean, she's a sister.
Yeah, thank you.
So I've made a lot of these hearts for people. I think I made 100 of them for my mother-in-law's 90th anniversary birthday, 90th birthday, and that's really actually I got started doing these to help raise money for.
It was a charity.
As a charity thing to raise money for a young lady that was riding on a zip line and fell into a creek and somehow was exposed to flesh-eating bacteria. She lost both her legs and both her hands. And she's just a lovely person. So that's what got me started making.
Look here. Can you see?
Oh.
Yes, Amy Copeland was her name, and there's the Amy Copeland Foundation, and she does a tremendous amount of good, especially for young people that have lost their limbs or faced some type of terrible challenge in their life.
Oh dear.
So, and this is something that I've played with. This isn't pottery, but I do a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of things, and I guess would y'all want to guess what this actually is? This is a material this is a thing that you have enjoyed. It is a very southern thing that is it's a delicacy.
Fried tomato?
No, but that actually tomato would be a good choice of something to make this from. This is
okra.
This is two very, very thin slices of watermelon.
Oh wow.
That I made into a bowl. And I played with this for about a year and a half or so, trying to figure out, I really wish there's some way to make these stable enough
Oh, wow.
to sell, because every one that I've made is just like, just, I think just beautiful.
Hmm.
But I can't,
Well,
I think maybe if I could freeze dry them or something, but they eventually just sort of lose their shape, and then they turn around like over a couple of years, they really get nasty looking.
oh,
Beautiful.
There's got to be a way to make these things stable.
You could try resin. It's like a plastic. It's
Yeah,
like a plastic that you can put on the edges, and you let it harden, and it will keep the food from rotting as well as let it keep its shape and then durability. You can look at, there's like a bunch of people who like to make stuff out of bowls out of random objects, and they dip it in resin or they coat it in resin, and then it sticks without losing its form.
yeah, I think resins have come a long way in the last couple of years. This is a 4/2 2-part resin
Okay.
that I brushed on there, and for one thing, I think it's just so thin. Plus, I mean, I should try it again with a newer type of resin, because the resins 5 years ago or whenever it was I made this first bowl were pretty primitive, and the environmental consequences of using the better resins were just horrifying. So, what you had to do.
Very popular over the last couple of years, and I know it's gotten a lot more updates. I'm sure you could find more environmentally friendly resin.
Yeah, I think they've come out with much better ones in the last couple of years. So I see people making all kind of tables, like river tables and things, and those resins weren't available in a safe form 5 years ago. And yeah, this is the last slide, and this is just sort of, I made, I don't know how many of these bowls I made, and for empty bowls. And a friend of mine, I didn't even realize until I finished them that I made one wrong like this. But yeah, this has sort of become a famous bowl in a small circle of people. That's just wasting a lot more. It's just another example of wasting a whole lot of glaze on a single bowl.
very nice though. It's pretty.
So,
Okay, cool.
and like I said, I've had to reinvent everything. So I've gone to sort of free form bowls. I don't have to do a lot of manipulation to, or a lot of sanding. So I think y'all have probably seen these types of bowls that I've been making. This is a bisque bowl. This is ready to be fired again with clear glaze. I don't know if you can see like all the swirls and patterns in it. They come out like this. I really can't see, but this is all porcelain, and it's almost see-through. Like, it's thin enough to where light will go through them. So that's where I am at now, playing with these, a lot of porcelain. And I want to mention just a friend of mine, a young lady, Michael Amboni. She and her parents are particularly interested in, they just have a thing for roadkill. They're just really interested in roadkill. So I've made her a mug with this frog. And I made a whole bunch of spoon rests. Hopefully, if we ever get back together again to see her, I can take her some spoon rests. I made her a little roadkill amulet.
Wow.
She's just she's just an incredibly nice young lady that's
Mhm.
destined to be a star
Mhm.
musically.
Cool.
So that pretty much wraps up the slideshow, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Hit that. Okay, cool. Well, Paul, you did a great job showing us everything. And originally I was worried about having enough to talk about, but you did just fine.